Hello everyone, it's Nick here from NP Gunsmith and Firearms in Lewiston, New York. I'm just doing a real quick video about leveling the reticle on a rifle scope. I have a couple videos out there that talk about the complete mounting process, about lapping the rings and everything. But this is just a real quick one about making sure your reticle is level. It's important when you mount scopes that's level, because if you're off, say you're tilted to the left, you're never going to get your rounds all the way in from the left. You're always going to be shooting off to the left. Same if it's tilted to the right, you're always going to be off to the right. You're never going to be on center target. So with my setup here, as you can kind of see, I have my rifle and my vise. My scope is already on the rings. I've already torqued these rings and run through I've already lapped them, so we're good on that part. I made sure my vise is level. I leveled my gun, the rifle in the vise. My scope is level on my rings. I have, you can see a bubble level right here in front of the camera that has a light on it that's going to shine light through the back of the scope on my little grid back here, which has another level on it to make sure everything is level. And now when I turn on my light, hopefully you can see in my grid, there we go, turn it down a little bit, you can see the reticle lines showing up here on my grid. And what you do, once you make sure this is level and you can see your lines on your grid, you're nice and level. And you want to keep that on while you're torquing your rings, because if you torque too much, you can turn your scope without even knowing it. So it's very important. I'm gonna get these rings on tight. I'm not gonna torque them. I'm gonna snug them down and make sure that my lines that my scope doesn't turn. Get some Loctite on my ring screws here. In case anybody's wondering, this is a scope that's getting mounted on an old Remington model 742. Some great firearm. It's chambered in 30-06. So, and it's important to know, when you install scope rings, you gotta go side to side. You don't tighten one down and then go to the other side. It's got to be done evenly. Try to make the gap in your rings as even as possible on both sides. Screwdriver here. If you're just doing this as a one-off, you don't want to spend the money to buy a kit like this to level your scopes. I would just take it to someone that already has it, because they're not terribly expensive, but they're not cheap either. So it's just something I'm gonna mount one scope on my personal rifle, and that's it. I would suggest finding someone that does it, that already has one. You're going to save yourself some money. You may pay for them to do it, but if they're set up to do it, you don't have to spend a couple $100 to do it. Plus, they should have a bore sight, so they should be able to bore sight it for you. And then, okay, so my rings are even there. Switch over my torque wrench. As you can see, my scope already turned a little bit, so I will turn that back, maybe. And you never want to over torque your scope rings. Every manufacturer has a recommendation. Usually it's about 15 to 18 inch-pounds. If you over torque them, you're going to crush your scope tube. So that being said, double check all the bubbles. We're level there. We're level there. So I'm going to just get that one to touch. Okay, let's do quarter turns. Quarter turn. Quarter turn. Quarter turn. You're going to do this all the way around. May seem tedious, but it pays off in the end, because then you know you're always going to be on target. Scope's always, well, unless you really wreck your scope and you bump pretty hard. So this is just a quick video. Just want to make sure, you know, it's important you make sure your scope's level. You never, I don't like to leave wounded animals out there. And if it's out there because you made a mistake putting your scope on, you know, it's on you. So, but if this is something you're gonna do, you're gonna be mounting them to make some money. Mounting them for other people, you're going to do a lot. You make this investment, a few $100s. Get yourself a good bore sight. There's some real great ones out there. There's some real cheap ones out there. You know, don't go buying a cheap one and think you're going to save some money, because I can tell you firsthand that the cheap ones don't work. You're going to spend the money, make sure you do it right. Buy the right ones. I'll even tell you which one I use. It's going to cost you a couple $100. Periodically as you go, make sure you're still level, and we are still good to go. We are getting there, folks. So this is the tedious part of doing this. Oh, there we go. And always make sure you have a good inch-pound torque wrench too. That one was almost there. That one's there. Make sure you check them all. Alright, they're all torqued. Our scope is still level. And like I said, I'll tell you what brand bore sight that I recommend to use. Okay. I have a couple of them made by the same company. You want to get yourself a sight light. All right. This is the SL 500. It's green laser. They have a lifetime warranty. You can send this into them anytime you want. They'll recalibrate them. You have access online to targets. You can type in the exact ammo you're using, ballistic coefficients and everything. The yardage you want it zeroed in on, and you can print out a target, bore sighted in, and that firearm will be bore sighted in, 75 yards, 100 yards, 50, whatever you're wanting to sight it in at. For the SL 500, you're over $200, $230, 200, depending on where you buy it from. But it is worth it. Don't get the cheap ones; they do not work. Speaking from experience. So, but that is how you mount a scope, make sure it's level, and it's important. Level every scope you mount. Make sure the vise is level, the gun's level, the scope, everything. And then when you're all ready to go, bore sight it, your gun is good to go to the range, finish zeroing it in, and you will be on target. All right. So, thanks for taking time to watch. I appreciate it. Like the video, subscribe, all that, and I'll keep them coming. Thank you. Bye.